Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we have a great Power Pundit panel, and we're going to be with these guys for the whole show. Lots to discuss today. Mike Bosma is here, the president of the Bosma Group. Larry Mathias is executive director of the Nevada State Medical Association, and Chris Wicker is spokesperson for the Washoe Democratic Party. We want to talk about the governor's State of the State speech and your initial thoughts on that.
You know, I thought it was his best political speech, and it was after he got elected. I thought he was very sensitive to both sides of the aisle. I think he articulated his plan well. It was amazing how much, really how much he was able to deliver in a very short amount of time being in office. And probably more importantly, I think he really about building consensus and having a plan that will work. So I think now—
Consensus with whom?
Well, I would say by the Democrats. You know, not obviously not consensus. Just reading some of the responses coming out of that, but I'll tell you what, they weren't nearly as negative as the prior governor's budget proposal. So, you know,
is that a comparison you really want to make, Larry?
Probably not. No, I think it was a very interesting and well presented set of parameters for where he's trying to define how the legislative session should go. It was optimistic. At the same time, it was realistic. He presented it in a very likable way. I think that's because he's a very likable person, and I think showed a mastery, or he and his team, a mastery in a fairly fast way of some very difficult issues. I think that it was restrained. Might be the appropriate term for it. But it did set at least his starting point for the legislative session, and I think it drew very interesting and restrained responses from the leadership in the legislature, and
at least initially.
At least initially, and I think that's civil discussions when you do have areas of disagreement. There are going to be some real areas of disagreement. There's some things in there that should have everybody unhappy, and there are some things in there that should have everybody happy. That's part of the job of a State of the State or a State of the Union.
Chris, and talking to some Democrats yesterday, their consensus seemed to be that it was a well thought out plan, but it was still smoke and mirrors.
Well, I don't know so much about smoke and mirrors. I think what really impressed me about the governor's speech is that the review of the budget and the putting together the budget that they did, to me, demonstrated just a whole ton of work that they put into it. Instead of taking the easy way out, let's go back, let's do 10% here or cut X percent there. I think they went in, what they said they did, which is went into each budget item and made evaluations. Well, we're going to keep this, we're going to decrease this, we're going to cut that. And so I think they tried really hard to present a good budget. The fallacy with their approach was stated by the governor in the beginning of his speech, is that, well, the way to build a budget is to you look at how much money you have and then see what you can pay for, and that's kind of perhaps how you do a family budget. But when you're doing a government budget, when the government has certain responsibilities, I think the approach you have to take is you look at, well, what do we need to pay for to make this a livable place and to accomplish our responsibilities, and then see what it's going to cost and see how you're going to cover that cost. So I disagree with his approach, but I think that he worked really hard at it, and I was impressed with that part of it.
Okay, you are the financial expert, sir. How do you respond to that?
I would respectfully disagree. I think living within your means is very, very important, not only for us individually, but for the government. I don't have any angst about borrowing, but you don't. You borrow based on building infrastructure, building processes, and you know that that's not going to happen overnight. So I'm okay with that, but I will tell you, the cuts that we're proposing, or that the governor proposed, or are being proposed, they're not anything that's going to take away anything from what I saw. That I didn't feel any more threatened about my house being broken into or burning to the ground, or my children being educated. I didn't see any of those types of game changers that would make me feel like, we went too far on these cuts. I thought they were very much.
I respectfully disagree. I think there was. Let me point out one game changer, and I think that's the 17%, which I think in percentage-wise is going to be 18, okay. On the higher education, now that's a game changer. If you ultimately destroy your system of higher education. I don't know if it's going to do it, but based on the cuts they've had before and these proposed cuts under Sandoval's budget, if you destroy your university system, then your best and brightest are going to go to school elsewhere. You're not going to get the research projects in and the money that brings in, and ultimately you're going to lose the game of economic development. And that's my worry, is that, well, what do we need to do for the higher education system? Not let's cut it another 18% on top of what we did before.
And all I would say, Chris, is this. He also lifted the restriction on letting the regents set tuition. And at the end of the day, I've been involved with many organizations that do training, education, and the university system is highly, highly subsidized. The students just pay just such a minuscule fraction of what that actual cost is. And I'm just a proponent of just saying, you know what, let the pain be where the pain belongs. That there's a significant value there in that education. Significant. Well, let's charge for value, and as the governor said, well, we're going to have a reserve set aside for people that need that financial assistance to be able to still take advantage of it. At the end of the day, the system should pay for itself. If we're lessening the subsidy, the people that are taking advantage of it should be able to step up into that gap.
The conversation about exactly what Nevada is responsible for doing has been started with Kenny Gwynn, and it's been heating up. And I think that this is the session in which we're going to have to confront exactly what is absolutely necessary for us to do. That if we don't do it as a state, will there be a system in place to do things that are necessary? I think Medicaid is one of those. The Medicaid program is a joint federal-state program, but it provides the last formal coverage for people who are uninsured, who have disabilities, who have high use of medical care services. Below that, there's nothing more than charity care and some nonprofits and that sort of thing that are stretched already. The cuts in Medicaid are pretty draconian for a program that on every measure ranks at or near the bottom among the states.
Okay, let's take a break and we'll pick up on that when we come back. We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this timeout.
To contact Nevada Newsmakers, call 775-857-2244 or go to NevadaNewsmakers.com.
Attention diabetics, if you've taken the diabetes drug Avandia, listen carefully.
If a member of your family has suffered a heart attack, stroke, or even died while taking Avandia, call the attorney Greg Jones right now.
If you or a loved one have taken this drug and were injured, you may be entitled to financial compensation.
For a free legal consultation, call 800-595-6139.
You don't owe us anything unless we're successful.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS or state, this may be the most important phone call you'll ever make.
I owed $50,000 in taxes. But listen.
Your tax problem is settled. You only owe $8,400.
What a great message.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS or state, then you owe it to yourself to call this number. Let our experts help guide you through the process of negotiating a tax settlement. Call this number or go to tax10000.com.
I have urgent news. If you have good credit now and a good credit history, you can qualify for a low fixed rate 30-year refinance loan from Mortgage in 15 Minutes.
They turned my good credit into a great rate. Thank you, Mortgage in 15 Minutes.
They came through, like they said, in less than 15 minutes.
This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Call us now for your low fixed rate loan.
Call 1-800-604-1585.
There's an easier way inside local entertainment. Las Vegas Review Journal. Get inside.
This segment is sponsored by the law firm of Lewis & Roca, providing local and regional clients in-depth legal resources in today's challenging business climate. And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we have an all-pundit show discussing the governor's state of the state and, of course, his appearance on the program yesterday. We're talking with Mike Bosma, Larry Mathias, and Chris Wicker. One of